The practice court at Hard Rock Stadium was empty, except for one 20-year-old Filipina going through her final preparations before the biggest tournament of her life. Alex Eala had just finished a grueling session, her strokes crisp, her focus sharp, when she noticed movement at the players' entrance. She turned, expecting maybe a tournament official, maybe a fan who had slipped past security. Instead, she saw a figure that made her racket fall from her hand. Rafael Nadal, the 22-time Grand Slam champion, the king of clay, the man whose academy had shaped her since she was 13, was walking toward her with a smile that lit up the entire stadium. He wasn't supposed to be here. He hadn't played a competitive match in over a year. But on the eve of the Miami Open, the tournament that had launched Eala into the global spotlight exactly 1 year ago, Nadal had flown across the ocean for one reason: to deliver a message that would leave his former. To understand why Rafael Nadal's unexpected appearance in Miami meant so much, you have to go back to where it all began. In 2018, a 13-year-old Alex Eala left her home in the Philippines and moved across the world to Mallorca, Spain. Her destination, the Rafa Nadal Academy, a state-of-the-art facility built by the greatest clay court player in history to develop the next generation of tennis talent. She was young, far from home, and carrying the weight of a nation that had never produced a tennis star. For the next 5 years, the academy became her home. She trained on the same courts where Nadal himself had honed his game. She absorbed the philosophy, the work ethic, the relentless discipline that had made the Spaniard a legend. And occasionally, she caught glimpses of the man himself, offering advice, watching matches, embodying the values the academy was built to instill. In 2023, Eala graduated from the academy, ready to take on the professional tour. She left with more than just improved technique. She left with a connection to Nadal that would prove invaluable in the years to come. When players like Rafa speak, you listen, Eala would later say. He's not just a coach, he's an example of what's possible if you work hard enough. That example carried her through the challenges of life on tour. In 2025, she stunned the tennis world by reaching the semifinals of the Miami Open as a wild card.
November 2025. 1 year after Rafael Nadal played his final professional match at the Davis Cup Finals in Malaga, he picked up a racket again for the first time. The setting was the Rafa Nadal Academy. The opponent across the net? Alex Eala. "It was crazy," Eala recalled with a huge grin. "It was my first time ever hitting with him, and I was so nervous, and it was definitely physically demanding for me. I mean, he was off court for like a year, and I've been training strong, and I feel like, man, I was so far." The session was captured on video and shared by Nadal himself on social media. 1 year later, it felt great to be back on a tennis court. "It was great to practice with you, Alex. Next time, I will be stronger," he wrote. For Eala, the moment was surreal. Here was the man whose posters had adorned her childhood walls, whose playing style she had studied for years, standing across the net, trading ground strokes with her as if they were equals. "Just to say that you hit with Rafa, it's insane," she said, "but I feel so lucky and so blessed." The practice session was more than just a workout. It was a passing of the torch, a recognition from the greatest player of his generation that Eala represented something special, not just for the Philippines, but for the future of the sport. Nadal, ever humble, downplayed the significance, but those who witnessed the session described something electric in the air. Two lefties, separated by generations, but connected by the academy that bore his name, sharing a court in a moment that transcended tennis.
March 19, 2026, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens. Alex Eala had just finished her final practice session before the Miami Open. the tournament that had changed her life exactly 1 year ago. She was gathering her gear, preparing to head to the locker room, when she noticed movement near the players' entrance. At first, she thought it was just another fan hoping for an autograph. But then she saw the familiar walk, the iconic posture, the bald head and bandana that have been synonymous with tennis greatness for 2 decades. Rafael Nadal was walking toward her. Eala's racket clattered to the court. Her hand flew to her mouth. For a moment, she simply stood there, frozen in disbelief. Nadal approached with that warm smile that has charmed the tennis world for 20 years. He opened his arms, and Eala stepped into an embrace that lasted nearly 30 seconds. When they finally pulled apart, tears were streaming down her face. "What are you doing here?" she managed to ask. Nadal laughed. "I couldn't let you play this tournament without seeing you, not after last year, not after everything you've done." The moment was captured by a tournament photographer who happened to be nearby. Within hours, the image had gone viral, the legend and the rising star embracing on a Miami practice court, the passing of a torch no one saw coming. But Nadal wasn't done. He reached into his bag and pulled out something that made Eala gasp again. It was a framed photo, a picture of the two of them during that practice session in Mallorca 5 months earlier. On the frame, Nadal had written a message in Spanish. "Para Alex, con todo mi cariño." After the emotional reunion, Nadal asked for a private moment. The two retreated to a quiet corner of the stadium, away from cameras and officials and curious onlookers. For the next 45 minutes, the 22-time Grand Slam champion shared wisdom that no coach could ever replicate. He talked about pressure, about walking onto center court, knowing that millions are watching, that expectations are crushing, that one bad moment can define a narrative. He told her about his own struggles with injury, with doubt, with the fear that maybe this time he wouldn't be able to overcome. "I've lost more matches than you've played," he said, with a wry smile. "Every time I lost, I had to decide, do I let this define me, or do I learn from it?" He talked about the Filipino fans who packed stadiums everywhere she played. They're not just cheering for you, they're cheering for themselves, for everyone who ever felt like they didn't belong. That's a gift, but it's also a responsibility. Never take it for granted. He talked about the advice that had guided his own career. "Surround yourself with good people," he said, echoing words he had spoken countless times in graduation speeches at his academy. "When things get hard, and they will get hard, the people around you will determine whether you sink or swim." Eala listened, absorbing every word. This wasn't a coach giving technical advice. This was a legend sharing the lessons of a lifetime. When they finally emerged, Eala's eyes were red, but her posture was transformed. She walked with a confidence that hadn't been there before, a quiet certainty that she was on the right path. Later, when asked what Nadal had told her, she smiled and shook her head. "Some things are private, but I'll carry his words with me forever." Before leaving, Nadal agreed to a brief statement for tournament media. What he said would be quoted around the world. "Alex is special," he told reporters. "I've watched her grow from a 13-year-old girl with a dream into one of the most exciting players in tennis. What she's doing for the Philippines, for Asia, for everyone who's ever felt like an outsider in this sport, it's remarkable." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "She has something that can't be taught. She has fire, but she has grace. She has confidence, but she has humility. That combination is rare. That's what champions are made of." When asked about the future, Nadal didn't hesitate. "She will win Grand Slams. I believe that completely. And when she does, I'll be watching from wherever I am, cheering louder than anyone." The word spread across social media within minutes. Filipino fans, already fiercely loyal to their hero, now had validation from the greatest clay court player in history. Tennis analysts who had questioned whether Eala's rise was sustainable suddenly reconsidered, and Eala herself, preparing for her first-round match, felt a weight lift from her shoulders. To have Rafa believe in me like that, it changes something inside you. You realize that all the work, all the sacrifice, all the moments when you wanted to quit, they were worth it. They led to this. March 20th, 2026. Center Court, Hard Rock Stadium. Alex Eala walked onto the court for her first-round match against Laura Siegemund, carrying something invisible but powerful, the belief of a legend. The crowd erupted as always, Filipino flags waving, chants echoing, the familiar energy that has become Eala's signature wherever she plays. But this time, something was different. There was a calmness in her eyes, a steadiness in her movements. She played the match of her life. Siegemund, a crafty veteran who specializes in disrupting rhythm, had no answers. Eala won in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2, advancing to the second round where a potential rematch with Iga Świątek awaited. After the match, she dedicated her victory to Nadal. That practice session in Mallorca, his visit here, it reminded me why I started playing this sport. Not for rankings, not for money, but for the love of the game, for moments like this. Nadal, already on a flight back to Spain, watched from his phone. He smiled, nodded, and sent a single-word message. Perfect. The bond between these two lefties, separated by generations but united by a shared love for tennis, will continue to inspire for years to come. Eala carries Nadal's lessons in her game and his words in her heart. And somewhere in Mallorca, the legend watches with pride, knowing that his legacy extends far beyond the trophies he won. Rafael Nadal just did something no one expected. The 22-time Grand Slam champion, retired for over a year, flew across the ocean to surprise Alex Eala at the Miami Open. He embraced her, gifted her a personalized framed photo, and spent 45 minutes sharing wisdom that no coach could ever replicate. The gesture stunned the tennis world. But for those who know the bond between these two lefties, forged over years at the Rafa Nadal Academy, sealed by a practice session on the anniversary of his retirement, it made perfect sense. Nadal sees something special in Eala. He sees the fire, the grace, the humility that defined his own career, and he wanted her to know, in the most personal way possible, that she's on the right path. Now, Eala carries that belief into the Miami Open. She's already won her first match. She's already inspired millions. And with Nadal's words echoing in her heart, there's no telling how far she'll go. Was this the most touching moment of the Miami Open? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Rally Radar now for daily WTA news, match breakdowns, and stories that go beyond the scoreline. Because at Rally Radar, every day is match day.